if you found this video, then you probably already know what's going on with me, if you know me personally, or if you've just found this on YouTube or wherever I end up putting this, then you've probably clicked on it because you're going through something similar to me, or someone that you know is going through something similar to me, and you're just wanting to know a bit more about it, or know how my story went and how I got to the point that I'm at now. Roughly last week, I was diagnosed with stage 2 Hodgkins Lymphoma, which is a type of cancer, and at 20 years old, that is a big thing to be told. But I had 3 months of waiting for a diagnosis, so I'd kind of already known that it was going that way anyway. So I just wanted to make this video to share my story, because watching everybody else's stories when I was going through this and waiting for a diagnosis was so good for me, because everybody just had a different story, and it made me feel like my story was normal and not weird, and like even though mine wasn't the same as theirs, everybody was different anyway, so it wasn't supposed to go one way or the other. So I just thought I'd put my one out there, because mine is a bit different to everyone else's, and mine was 3 months of it, so just wanted to share mine. I do have a book where I wrote down quite a lot of things that I want to talk about, so if I keep looking down, that's why. But I'm hoping that this video does get to people that are going through the same thing, because I think one thing that's really helped me is speaking to people that are going through it, because you get the best advice from them and you get the truth. Nobody sugarcoats it for you, you just get told what you need to know, and I found that really helpful. So if I could do that for someone else, then that would be even better. That's a bonus. So yeah, I'll just go into it because I hate it when there's like a massive long intro. Mine started in March this year, 2019. I was on placement in a primary school quite close to my house in Manchester. I do actually go to uni somewhere else, but I came back to Manchester for the placement. So I went on placement, everything was fine, and then I remember I was in a lesson one day and I felt my neck, and I had a bit of a lump there, and I found it a bit strange that there was a lump on my neck. But I didn't really think too much of it, but I did think, oh, there's a lump, that's a bit weird. So I remember I told my boyfriend about it, and he was like, well, just go and get it checked out, there's no harm in that, which was true, there wasn't. So I rang up my local doctor at home and got an emergency appointment for the next day. I was told that it was just a gland, it was nothing to worry about, it would probably go in a few weeks and I would be fine, so I just completely forgot about it, to be honest. I just dismissed the thought, didn't think about it much after that. Ended up going back to uni around March, end of March maybe, and around the end of April I realised that it was still there on my neck and it was still prominent, and I did think actually it might have grown a little bit. So I mentioned it again to my boyfriend, who again told me to go and get it checked out again. But I thought, like, there's not much point getting it checked out, but I thought, alright, I will anyway. So I went to the walk-in centre at my university. They have their own doctors on campus. And I met with their GP from there, and she looked at my neck and said that it did look really unusual, and it was just on my collarbone, just there. So it was quite low, and she was looking at it quite like worried. So she said that the best thing to do, just to rule out anything nasty, was to refer me to the ENT department at the hospital near my university. So that was fine. To be honest, I wasn't really thinking much of it at this point, because I thought I was just getting a referral and they'd have a look at it and send me on my way. So I get the call for the referral in the next few days, and I go to the hospital. And when I did go in for that, for the original appointment, when she looked at my neck, she did do some bloods, and that said that there was some inflammation in my bloods, and also that I was slightly anemic, which both linked to lymphoma. And that doesn't mean that if you're slightly anemic or if you've got inflammation that you've got cancer, because you probably don't. 9 times out of 10 you don't. But with this, that was something that linked to it, and at the time I didn't even know that. So I just dismissed that about my bloods, because I thought, oh, that's fine. She said that it was pretty normal. And I get to the ENT clinic and I meet my consultant there, and he tells me that after he's had a look at it, he says that he would like to do a biopsy on it. Now, a biopsy, you probably already know what this is, but if you don't, then it's where the biopsy that I had that day is where they get a needle and they put anaesthetic around the area, and then they take out free samples actually of the tissue so that they can test it and see if it is cancerous or not. I didn't know that this was going to be happening on that day, which I probably should have put two and two together, but I was just so blind to it that I just didn't think that would happen. So I remember I was really upset that day, and it did, like, I was awake for mine, and I think most people are for the fine needle ones, but I was really upset. Like, it did hurt a little bit, I could still feel it, but it's not too painful. I'm just a bit of a wuss, but it wasn't too painful. I think it was just everything at once coming on me that I got upset, whereas if it was a normal day and I was prepared, it probably wouldn't have even hurt that much. I also had an ultrasound on it, and we did try and ask the guy that was looking at my neck. There is a word for that, I just can't remember. We did ask him if he could tell if it was anything bad or anything, because I was with my sister, and he said like he couldn't tell me, like he didn't know. But the results would be back in 2 weeks. So we left the hospital that day, and to be honest, I was a bit shook up that everything had happened, but I still wasn't too concerned about anything. So I went back to my house in uni, but by this time it was coming towards the end of the academic year, so I was ready to move back to Manchester. So I went back to Manchester, moved back home, and I got a call from that hospital saying that I should come back in for my new appointment because it was 2 weeks later. So I went back in for my second appointment, and they said that the results weren't back yet, which was annoying because we just drove all the way back. But they said the results aren't back yet, but we do want to refer you for a CT scan just in case it is anything like lymphoma, which is a disease that would show like this and is a type of cancer. So we just like to do a CT scan so that if it is something like that, we're already one step ahead. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine, because obviously them taking a step ahead is really good because they're always one step ahead then. But I was a bit like, I don't know, I didn't really think about it too much, because I just thought, right, I'll just get a CT scan done. So me and my sister went to the CT scan a few days later. If you don't know what a CT scan is, it's where you go into a huge tunnel kind of thing. It looks a bit like a donut. If you Google CT scan, you'll see what I mean. You go in, and it spins around, and it looks a bit like a washing machine. It's nothing, like, you just lie there for, I think it was like 20 minutes. It wasn't too long. And they just take pictures of your chest and your this area, like your top half, and they just check that everything's clear and that nothing's there really, which was fine. Like, that was done, that it wasn't a big deal. I went back home, and like I said, I'm living in Manchester at this point, so I'm back home for the summer, and I'm just waiting then on calls, and I am starting to get a bit worried and think like, oh, I wonder what it's going to be. I'm waiting on these biopsy results, and I don't know what it's going to be, and it was all just starting to get a bit worrying then, because when I'd been for the CT scan, I knew that they did that to rule out anything like lymphoma. So obviously then I threw myself into Dr. Google and was looking up lymphoma, found out about Hodgkins, non-Hodgkins, really like did all this research on something that I didn't even know if I'd have. But I'm glad that I did that now. But I think when it comes to researching, it's fine to go out there and research, but when you get to the point where you're looking at things that scare you, maybe take a step back. And I know it's so easily said, but it's so hard to do. But I've just started to leave my phone outside my room so that I just don't Google. I don't have time to Google, because if I'm going to sleep, then I'll just leave it outside. Whereas usually I'll have my phone in my room and I'll be Googling till 2, 3 a.m. and honestly, it can be a nightmare. So just try and stay away from that if you're waiting on a diagnosis, because honestly, it could go both ways. You don't know. So then I got a call from my nurse, and she said that the CT results were back, but my biopsy was not back, and my CT scan showed that it was 99% likely to be lymphoma. And I mean, hearing that it's 99% likely, but not really getting the other information was a bit like, what? But I had asked her, I kept ringing and I kept pestering her, so she probably just wanted to tell me the truth. So that was a bit of a wake-up call that this probably was lymphoma. So I did tell my family, I told my friends, I told my boyfriend, I told my boyfriend's family, and everyone was so supportive. Everyone was like, look, this is fine, you can do this, you're going to be fine. But in my head, I was just like, what is going on? So then I go in on the following Monday, because she told me that earlier in the week, like a Thursday. And I sit with my consultant and the nurse that told me that. And my consultant says, oh no, it's not 99%. I don't know where you've got that from. And I was like, what? So I looked at the nurse who told me that, and she was just a bit quite comfy. I think she just didn't want to say too much because she probably had overshared when she shouldn't have, but I really appreciated her doing that because I did need some insight into what was going on. And they said that they were going to refer me to the haematologist because they wanted me to speak to someone that had a bit more experience in what they thought it was, and they said that the CT scan did show that it was more likely to be lymphoma. So I think I was kind of expecting that anyway, and I went to see the haematologist at another hospital. I was doing the rounds, and he was from Manchester originally and told me that there was, the reason that they were all thinking lymphoma was because there was a 7.5 centimetre mass in my chest. Now, being told that there's a mass in your chest, you're just like I didn't even know about that, and my consultant hadn't told me about that, or if he had, then I think I might, he just said that there was some swelling, so I don't know if he meant that by that, but I hadn't known. So to find that out, I was just like, what? And by this point, it had already been like a few weeks since my biopsy was done, and there was no results or anything. But on that day when I went in to see the haematologist, my results had come back and they were inconclusive from the biopsy. Now, this is so common with fine needle biopsies. They are so common to come back inconclusive. I don't think it's very common to get a diagnosis from one of them because lymphoma is hard to diagnose anyway. So I was a bit upset, I was a bit disheartened, but I was just, I was like, okay, like, what now then? And they told me that I'd need to go and get surgery on my lymph node, on the swollen lymph node, which is the lump in my neck. So I got booked in for the surgery on the 24th of June. I remember that date for some reason. Surgery is really weird because it's a day surgery, so you don't have to stay in or anything. You go in the morning. I was in pretty early, like 8 a.m. You go in, you relax for a bit, you meet everybody, you meet your nurse, you meet your consultant is supposed to come and do it, but my consultant was busy, so I got someone on his team to come and do it. You meet your anaesthetist, you meet everybody that's going to be in the room with you, in theatre with you. It's a nice process, well, it's not nice, but as nice as it could be. And you just get wheeled down to theatre, and I was so worried about being put to sleep, but being put to sleep is actually such a nice feeling. I didn't think I'd ever say that, but it's such a nice feeling. You just wake up and you're like so refreshed. So that happened. I had the surgery and I woke up and they said, look, we got a good chunk, we're going to diagnose this. And I was so happy, like finally I'm going to know. So I went back home and I'd brought my friends and my boyfriend and my dad to this surgery with me, so we all just kind of chilled afterwards, and we'd been up since early morning. So I come back home and I'm just waiting then. It's another waiting game and feels like forever's gone by when I get a call from the nurse, and she says that the results are back but they're saying inconclusive again. And I was like, how are they inconclusive? Surely you've got this wrong, like surely you're looking at the wrong ones, like what? And she said, no, I'm definitely sure that it's saying inconclusive, but it doesn't make sense. So I go to my haematologist a day later, and he says that the wrong thing has been taken during this surgery. He said, I've demanded for the whole lymph node to be taken out, and they've taken the wrong thing out. And I don't know if this is true, so I'm not accusing people, but that's what I was told. And to hear that, you're just like, but obviously I understand that it's probably much more complex than that, and I don't really understand it because that's all I was told, so that's all I took away. But I went to another appointment afterwards, and someone said that they did take out the lymph node, but the tissue bit, like a lymph node's made up of tissue and cancer if it's cancerous, so they didn't get the right bit. But anyway, it resulted in me needing another surgery, so I got booked in again on I can't remember the date for that one, but I got booked in again a couple of weeks later, and this time they said that they definitely could diagnose this one. So that was good. I was happy with that. I went back home. I then had a PET scan a few days later. I did try and have one a bit earlier, but it took a while to get this PET scan. But my haematologist... Sorry, my phone just got too much storage. My haematologist was adamant that I needed the PET scan done. And even though my biopsy results weren't back yet, he said that because it had taken so long and he was really angry about it, he wanted me to go get the PET scan. So I got my PET scan done, and that again it's a bit more complex than the CT scan, because they inject you with a radioactive dye, which you have to sit there then for, I think I was there for nearly an hour, just waiting for the dye to go around your body and for the sugar to go around your body as well. And then when you lie down in the tunnel, again, the donut looking thing, then that's when the same thing happens. It spins around again, but the PET scan picks up on where the sugar is in your body and where's eating the sugar, because that's a good indicator of what's cancerous or not. So I lay there and it went round, and it was a quick process, but it was a bit long. It felt longer because of the hour, but it wasn't too bad. And then I left that day, was told that my results would be back shortly in the next few days, which they were. I got a call from my new nurse who told me that the PET scan did show that some areas were lit up. My chest was lit up and my neck was lit up. And I know that usually that means that it's cancerous, because I've heard that around, and I just thought, okay, so it's cancerous. But she never actually said that, because she said that usually by this point you've got the diagnosis already, you just have the PET scan to stage it. But mine was backwards, so I had the PET scan but I had no diagnosis. So she said once diagnosed, if it's that, you will have stage 2 lymphoma. And I said, do you know which one? Hodgkins, non-Hodgkins? She said probably Hodgkins. So fast forward a couple of days, I finally have my appointment to go in, which was last week. I go in and I speak to my consultant, my new haematologist, and he tells me that everything's back finally, and my diagnosis is stage 2 Hodgkins lymphoma, which is, it was obviously a relief, like obviously, but at the same time this past week has been really difficult, and getting your head around something like this isn't something you do overnight, and I've realised that it's been a roller coaster already. But I do feel like I'm starting to get my head around it, and today I went in and met my new team in Manchester now that I'm back home, and they are really, really good. I was really happy with them. And now I know what's going on, and for me it was more relief than anything straight away, and then it turned into anger, and then it turned into sadness, and then it turned into confusion. So I've had so many different emotions, but I just know that it will be okay, because it is a very curable type of cancer, and I know that. And knowing that, linked with having an amazing family, amazing friends, amazing boyfriend, amazing family of boyfriend, like all of my family, everyone that I just mentioned are my family, and they're all the people that have been helping me through this. And honestly, my doctors as well, the ones that I met today, I know that they're going to be such great doctors. So I feel like confident with them. I feel very confident. But if you have watched this video and you have got this far, then this was just something I threw together quickly before I start going through chemo and get a chemo brain and don't remember anything. So I wanted to throw this together now. I probably won't post it for the next couple of weeks, but when I'm ready to, I will. And hopefully if you've watched this, then not hopefully that you're going through it, but hopefully if you are going through it and you are watching this, then you can message me. I will leave my Instagram down below, so you can reach out, and I don't, honestly, message me whenever. I'll probably be there to reply. And I've had people reach out to me and help me so much during my journey that I feel it's only right to put that out there for other people if they want to take it. Obviously I get it if you're one of those people that wants to keep things quiet, because honestly that's how I was at the start. I just didn't want to speak to anyone, but once I did, it really did open a lot of doors for me in terms of knowing things that I didn't know and that I wouldn't have known unless I reached out. So I just want to put that out there for people that do want to reach out, that are going through something similar, or if you've been through something similar, anything, just message me and let me know, because that's why I'm making this. It's for the people that are going through something similar, because going through it alone is scary, but not alone as in not got people around you, but being the only one with it is scary. But speaking to people that have it is so helpful. Honestly, it's so helpful. I've just found so many amazing people already, and I've only known for like 3 months that this might be the outcome, and I've had such amazing people around me that I just feel so lucky already. So please, if you feel that you want to speak to someone, message me whenever. Honestly, I mean it. But thanks for watching if you have watched this far. If you want to know updates, then just keep in touch. I'll let you know what's going on. And thank you to everyone that's been there for me so far anyway, like especially the girls that I've reached out to that have this, and the guys that have got this. because you just honestly made me feel so much calmer, so much more comfortable. I feel like I can do it because you're doing it too. Like, you show me that it's possible. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you